Welcome, 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 welcome. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Don't you go nowhere. You stay right here. We got to talk Dak. We got to talk MVP. We got to talk NFC East. It's turning into the NFC Beast in some ways, I believe. Some injuries to Jaden Daniels. I do not know. I do not know if this means that it's over for them boys. But it may be. But welcome, 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 welcome. So you're going to get these sports, bro. I'm your host, Mo, and welcome to the network. You feel me? Welcome. Those of you who are on LinkedIn, those of you who are on YouTube, all the first-time listeners, you come on back round now. You're here. You show them boys how you do it up in Harlem there, boy. And if you are a faithful listener, if you are a part of the Brain Trust, I love you from the bottom of my corazon, from my heart. You feel me? Cause a heart is a house of love. You feel me? And so I want to welcome everybody before we get into some Cowboy talks. Is Dak Prescott your MVP of the National Football League thus far? We will get into it. But we got Ms. Reese in the building. She said, hey, hey. And then she say, hey, again. Welcome, 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 man. Thank you for all of those who have been patient with your boy. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I had to take that week to regroup. I wanted to make sure I wasn't coming on here with no bad energy. You know, I had to get that old negative mojo up off of me. I had to give me a little rest. I had to spend some time with the fam. But we are ready to get into it. I cannot lie to you, man. Dak Prescott is looking quite favorable. Tell your friends, tell your mama and them that Rain Dakota Prescott is looking like a man on a mission. I have to be honest with you, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, my entire life, I've honestly been a Dak hater. I got to tell you, I've been a Dak hater in my life. But he is showing us something. He is giving us something to believe in. He is there's no reason that this team shouldn't be losing and losing often. And we are 3-1 for those of you who think I don't know math here. But he has found a way to show up and show out quite often. I'll be honest. If you are somebody who doesn't believe that this Cowboy team isn't a defensive player at linebacker or even at defensive tackle, maybe even corner away from this team being a real contender, I got to be honest, I think you're probably just a hater. And that's coming from a guy who I will always keep it a buck with you. Now, what makes it particularly special is we got to do it to them go-go dancers. Them mambo sauce lovers. I got the privilege of working an event for one of my good friends. And it was an event hosted by Washington Commanders fans, Washington Redskins fans. Now, I don't have anything against you guys in general. You know, like I said before on my Facebook post, except for the fact that go-go music is terrible. And y'all women was a little loose. But I digress. I'll digress. We don't have to get into it. Y'all was a little too friendly for my taking. But anyway, let's talk about it. The Cowboys win their Week 7 matchup against the Washington Commanders 44-22. They took their foot off the gas. And for all of you Washington Commanders fans who would love to make it a big deal and act like, Jaden going out was the reason that happened, that is incorrect. We were already on our way to monkey stomping y'all before Jaden got hurt. Now, for Bruce Glass, if you are able to check in with this at any point, Ron Graves, my coworker, if you're able to check in with this, Rodolfo Martinez Jr., if you're able to check in with this, I want to break it to you now. The Washington Commanders have a slim to nothing chance of making the playoffs at this point. They have now lost 3 or 4 with Kansas City Chiefs coming in. And I took the liberty of looking up you guys' schedule. And I'll be... it's tough, right? Because they are a good team. And if I'm being honest, I thought we were going to lose. I thought even with 2 bad defenses, that Jaden Daniels and everybody else that was a part of that offense was going to be enough to run roughshod over the Cowboys. But what we found out is that Dak Prescott is playing like a true MVP in this offense with Brian Schottenheimer at the helm. We all were upset as Dallas Cowboy fans about what we saw in Jerry Jones picking Brian Schottenheimer, who had never coached before, only been a coordinator. You know, Marty Schottenheimer was his dad, and we believe that this was a bad hire. But he's looking phenomenal in every way, shape, form, and fashion. So let me just quickly, before we get into Dak Prescott, your top one, top two, top three MVP candidate, let's look at the Washington Commanders' upcoming schedule, shall we? So first of all, let's go back to the first game of the season against your Giants, your Russell Wilson-led Giants at that point, and they beat them 21-6. Fairly decent, low-scoring game, competitive NFC East Championship game. Cool. You then lose to the Packers, 1-1. You destroy the Raiders. Genty's been tough on me all year, so you're 2-1. Then you lose to the Falcons, 2-2. Then you beat the Chargers, 3-2. Then you lose to the Bears. Oh, the Bears are bad. See, I can't wait till we start talking about this schedule and how people were telling me that if you lose to the Bears and if you lose to the Panthers, you have no choice. You have no chance of making the playoffs. And this team looks like they're starting to surge. But then you lose to the Bears, 3-3, and then you lose to your Dallas Cowboys, and you're 3-4 with the Chiefs coming into town. Then you have a Seahawks team coming into town, and I'm not saying that as in at or against. I'm just saying you'll be going against the Chiefs, who are at full strength now. They have Pacheco, they have Hollywood Brown, they have Rashee Rice, they have Xavier Worthy. They're looking like a problem again. And your tight end, the old Swifty himself, it's not even looking like he's going to matter except for when in the red zone or something like that in Travis Kelce. So that team's looking dangerous again. So the Seahawks, then you have the Lions, who last time I checked were running roughshod right now. Then you have the Dolphins, which that should be a gimme game. The Broncos, we're not sure. The Vikings are a solid team. And then Giants, you got Eagles again, Cowboys, Eagles again. Is somebody going to tell the Washington Commanders that with Jaden Daniels going out again, mind you, second time in, 4 weeks? Wasn't looking that good before he got hurt. I know people want to argue, but this is the reality, folks. Those slumps, those second-year slumps, every quarterback has experienced it in some capacity. And in some cases, when you play bad that first year, you get a little bit better the second year. But it catches up with us all. This is the reality. Jaden Daniels had no film on him that first year. Dak Prescott went 13-3, had no film on him. Was not a highly touted quarterback in the NFL. That second year, these quarterbacks come back down to earth. C.J. Stroud came back down to earth. Now, I don't know if it's starting to turn around for him at all, but it's looking kind of scary for your Washington Commanders. And I'll be honest, it's about time that you guys got a little bit of your own humble pie here, right? I seen you guys, you went to the NFC Championship last year. We're not going to talk about injuries. Who cares who you lost, right? Who cares if you lost Debo, if McLaurin hasn't been here? That's fine. You lost Eckler, and I told Washington Commanders fans, losing Austin Eckler was a big domino piece that was going to matter. An experienced guy coming out of the backfield, a great pass catcher, one who's been in the NFL, coming from the Chargers, understands football, understands his role. A good safety blanket for a young quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who, yes, I agree with his mom. Do not try to call him RG3. He's not RG3. He actually throws a better ball, intermediate ball, short ball, long ball than RG3. But please stop being disrespectful to RG3 for what he meant to that team for the time he was there. He was a great run pass option guy, great deep ball thrower. You cannot argue how great of a deep ball thrower he actually was. But you never put anybody around him to keep him safe. I seen that man's knee do this. Let's stop acting like y'all protected him. Chocolate City was chocolating when RG3 was there. No matter who he was married to, no matter how you feel about what he said about Angel Reese, don't let recency bias take you away from the facts of who RG3 was and how electrifying he was with Alfred Morris and how they destroyed us on one faithful Thanksgiving day. I'll never forget that. They completely embarrassed us. I think Alfred ran for 200 yards. They were up like 35-6 or 7 or something like that. I get it. Jaden is great. He's amazing. But here's some come to Jesus conversations that we have to have as Cowboys fans, as football lovers. If we look at the quarterbacks who run in this league, with the exception of a few, Russell Wilson was one of the few who I don't remember him really being derailed by injuries much. But if we look at the Lamar Jacksons of the world, if we look at, now we're looking at Jaden, seem like he's starting to get a little bit of the injury bug here. Not wishing anything on him, just looking at the facts. It's starting to look like he's going to have to find a way to evolve his game in a way that he's not going to put himself in harm's way to be running the ball a lot. Being able to use your legs to scramble is what makes the quarterback dangerous, not the fact of actually running down the field. And we see him take off a lot. I've told people, and I'll continue to say it, you have to find a way to evolve him as a thrower in the pocket, or to be able to move around kind of how Dak does at times, to where these type of things don't happen. Now, this is football, and so injuries are absolutely a part of the game. Nobody cares about the Cowboys getting beat by 50 if Dak Prescott isn't in the game. And it happened. Trust me, it happened. So it applies to us the same as it applies to Jaden Daniels, the same as it applies to Lamar Jackson. These guys are elusive. They are dangerous. But when you take yourself outside of that pocket as a NFL quarterback, you then become a runner of the football, a running back. So that means that they could do whatever outside of obviously your helmet-to-helmet penalties and, your horse collars, and blatantly, going for the knees and things of that nature. We all know what happened to Tom Brady in that fateful season where Matt Castle had to come in. They go 11-5. They miss the playoffs. Those type of things ruin the game. Not having Lamar Jackson at the helm, not having a Joe Burrow at the helm, not having a Jaden Daniels at the helm is going to cost your team. We saw what happened. Remember what happened to Dak Prescott. He was scrambling against the Giants. His foot's going this way, ankle's going this way. It's a part of the game. We understand it. But we have to be more wise about the way that we are managing our black quarterbacks in today's game. It's just it goes without saying. So based off of this schedule, based off of how long Jaden Daniels is going to be out, you're now looking at a New York Football Giants team who is in fact 2-5. I'm not going to argue with you there. But if you don't get back soon, you're going to start almost fighting for last at the bottom of this division, because Jackson Dart, he's coming. And he's packing Louis. Shout out to Deion Sanders. But I don't know, man. I think you got to be more wise about what's happening. Hopefully in the meantime, now we're not going to act like Mariota hasn't won games in the NFL, because he absolutely has. But he's not a starter. We see what's happening to Cooper Rush over there, right? He's playing in Baltimore. Not worth a darn. Let's be clear. Systems matter. Cooper Rush was a part of this system. He had been here his entire career. So what he was able to do was partially because the Cowboys offense was, in fact, more talented than most. And he understood the playbook. He understood all of those things. That offense is totally predicated over in Baltimore off of Lamar Jackson's ability to create. Zay Flowers and them don't even know what to do now that they're expected to get the ball every single play. The running game is non-existent. Derrick Henry, can we talk about that? Is he essentially about to fall off the cliff? Because when I posed this question, 2-3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago at max, my coworker said, "Oh no, he's fine. He'll be fine." And I'm like, okay. Next thing you know, there's wanted posters about Derrick Henry, and they want to know where he is at. So, the bottom line is, for any of these quarterbacks, what I can appreciate about the Shedeur Sanders of the world is that, yes, he has the ability to scramble, but he's always looking to make plays from the pocket. Now, of course, when we look at linemen, putting themselves in, linemen falling over each other, there's always a risk of knee injuries and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, these quarterbacks, as elusive and as dangerous as they are, and I was just making this statistic, I was talking about this statistic earlier. Patrick Mahomes has successfully scrambled for like 16 first downs. It's the most he's ever ran. But he had to do that in part because he didn't have receivers. So the more that you got him outside of the pocket, the more dangerous it's going to be for him as a quarterback. So with that being said, let's move right along here and let's get into some of these stats from your Dallas Cowboys, and more importantly, your quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, Rayne Dakota Prescott. Say it with your chest out. So as of today, October 20th, Rayne Dakota Prescott, and his mama call him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay, kinfolk. So I call him Rayne. That's his name. That's his government. Y'all can call him whatever you want to, but I'm going to call him Rayne Dakota Prescott, and it is nothing but love and affection over here, my brother. As of recently, because I definitely didn't like what you was doing leading up to this season. But as of October 20th, let's look at Rayne Dakota Prescott's numbers. Let me say this. He leads the National Football League in completions. Not completion percentage, but completions. So he's also thrown more balls, and that's the only way it can make sense to me that he still leads in completions but doesn't lead in completion percentage. So he has completed more balls to his offense as a whole than any other quarterback in the NFL. So let's start there. 259 attempts, 185 completions, putting him at 71.4%. All right, 1,881 yards, 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, passer rating of 107.6, and a QBR of 81.4. Now, I wanted to look at where those numbers actually rank in the NFL. So if we look at the passing yards at 1,881, he ranks second in all of the NFL. So top 5, and we'll go a step further and say he's top 3 for this case for MVP. Passing touchdowns with 16. He's second in the NFL. As of now, I don't know what Jared Goff is doing right now or, any of the other players, but as of right now, before the Monday Night Football games, he's second in passing yards. He's second in touchdowns. He's third in completion percentage at 71.6, and then tied for 16th in interceptions with three interceptions. No big deal there. Now, and then this is the completions. So says Dak Prescott is the leader in passes completed in 2025 with 203 completions as of the most recent data. Then after him is Bo Nix, and then you have Drake May. So, I mean, what can I say here, guys? The main thing, before we go any further or another further, let's say this. The stat is that the Dallas Cowboys have the toughest strength of schedule the rest of the way. Now, what we know is they also have the number 1 offense in all of the NFL. And for once in my life, I can say that this ain't smoke and mirrors here. This isn't fun and games here. This isn't something that just looks cool. They made a top 10 defense in your Green Bay Packers look very pedestrian. They are looking very impressive on offense. Javonte, Cavante, Pickens, CD, Ferguson, you name it. I mean, this offense is firepower. And if we're being honest here, George Pickens has to be the number one reason, in my opinion, that it took this offense from just cool to hyper elite. George Pickens, and I don't care what anybody says, he may even be a little bit better than CeeDee Lamb. I was really thinking to myself earlier, I'm like, who's more dynamic? And I'm like, well, it's CD. But then I'm like, no, CD couldn't make that catch down the sideline where Dak kind of lobs it in a weird way. George is going to the sideline, catches it, and he goes down. And CD doesn't make those type of catches. True enough, he's George Pickens is taller. He's a longer guy. In CD's absence, he's going bananas. 100. What I think yesterday was the first game in the last 6 or 7 where he didn't have a touchdown. He had scored in at least 5. He had scored 1 touchdown in at least the last 5 games. First time he ever did in his career. People thought that he was being funny when he did say, "I'll be excited to call better plays, to run better plays." We all know in Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields were his quarterbacks. And the offense was very stagnated. Now, a lot of that is still not on the quarterbacks themselves. A lot of that had to do with the type of offense that they like to run in Pittsburgh. They are a run-first team. It's been that way. A lot of these teams, they never change the identity of how they run their offense. And it's weird. It's like the Cowboys, as soon as they get a great offensive line and a good run game, they're effective again. But I'm like, that's any team in the NFL if you choose to make it that way. But George Pickens he's phenomenal. And I can't overstate that enough. Only had 80 something yards yesterday on 4 receptions, but CD has 5 receptions, 110 yards and a touchdown, which he took for 74 yards. So he got a bulk of his yardage on 1 play. When the offense is firing and clicking the way that it is for the Dallas Cowboys, who are dang near close to averaging 40 a game, he said he's a team guy. And I would love to believe that, and I'm not saying that Pickens is lying or anything. I just would like to see how it gets when it gets colder outside, when the plays aren't really necessarily going the way that you would hope. I'm just hoping, because we know who his agent is as well, David Mulligetta, the same one who was Micah Parsons, who is Micah Parsons' agent. But I'll stick to my guns and say that the Cowboys never really wanted to re-sign Micah Parsons. They definitely didn't want to make him the highest non-quarterback paid player in the NFL. They most certainly didn't want to do that. And so Jerry wasn't willing to go above 40. The guarantees and all that were gonna look a little different than what Micah was probably hoping for. But now I'm hearing the rumblings from the Green Bay Packers that if it wasn't for those 3 sacks he got yesterday, there would have been a lot more grumbling and complaining. Said he's tired. He's complaining about being held, and we don't hear T.J. Watt complaining about that. We don't hear Max Crosby complaining about that. We don't hear Chris Jones complaining about that. They go out and they play grown man football and they make plays. I'm not impressed about what you did against the Arizona Cardinals. You guys will start to see a pattern here of how he produces, how he shows up, when he shows up, and who he shows up against. Kyler Murray didn't play. One of the most elusive quarterbacks in the NFL was not on the field yesterday. Jacoby Brissett. A pro's pro for sure. But a team that's going to be a shell of itself without its quarterback, and they're not really that great with him, but he's beat us every time he's played us. He's undefeated in that stadium. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you look up and Micah Parsons is non-existent in games that matter against playoff teams. And we're not counting the Arizona Cardinals. I hope not. The one sack that they did say he got against the Cowboys was totally bogus. I still stand by that. That was not a sack. And then the sack that you did get against the Lions was late in the game. The game was already decided. It didn't matter. So I see a bunch of stat stuffing. Looks like the Cowboys have in fact won that trade. If the Green Bay Packers going to run here, more power to them. I'm not mad at them. But I will stick by what I said. He's not the impact player that you say he is. So, going back, George Pickens, you got to sign him. You got to sign Javonte Williams. You absolutely have to sign him. It is what it is. I threw this out there before, and I'll throw it out there again, as I am saying about Trevon Diggs. His best times have passed him by. He was a good player the first couple years, and if he was going to figure it out, if he was going to start adding a little bit more skill to the talents and all of that, it would have been fine. But 2 knee injuries later, a concussion, and you're at the house. We didn't miss you on defense. Can I say that we're possibly better with him? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if the Cowboys are better without Trevon Diggs, if they're better with him. The guy just, every time I look up, he's getting beat. If there's somebody, he's getting beat worse than rookies that are on the team. And the guys are getting separation on him. And I'm going to tell you where it all went wrong for him. If y'all remember the game that we played against the New England Patriots, and the game was getting late, and they hit him with a double move. He bit on the double move, and the safety, who was actually quite terrible at playing safety, still, I think it actually was Donovan, whatever his name is. A lot of these guys aren't good at playing coverage, so you're no good to us. Putting these guys in the box is cool until you got to go 4 wide in the playoffs, and now they got to go in coverage, because now you got to risk putting your linebackers against top receivers in the NFL. But nobody, but y'all gonna say I'm just being a hater. It is what it is. But so that's when he got exposed, right? They scored late. We were able to drive down, take it to overtime. CD catches that one going across the field. Dak hurts himself. We win the game. The rest is history, right? But from that point forward, the blueprint was in on who Trevon Diggs was as a corner. Big play guy, looking to make up. And I'm never mad at a gambling corner. I'm never mad at it. Some of the best were gamblers, so to speak. And mainly guys like Asante Samuels and stuff like that. Man, that boy podcast in the building. No. So you're not listening well. I'm not beating my team up. I am talking about a guy that actually wasn't on the team. I'm happy about the win. I'm giving Dak Prescott his credit, actually. But what I will say is that if we actually come out of Denver with a win next week, we're going to have to take a player like Trevon Diggs, who is just taking up money on the salary cap at this point, and we're going to have to package him for players that are actually going to be effective at helping us make a deep run in the playoffs. Because Dak Prescott is playing at an elite level, by far. Never mistake what I'm saying right now. I'm happy about what I'm seeing from the Cowboys, because I didn't even expect them to do this much. Now, as you and depending on how long you've been on here, Cash, I also gave some credence to your team. They are looking as dangerous as they ever have been. The Kansas City Chiefs, now that they got that 3-headed monster together, Travis Kelce, you only need him to make catches in spurts. Pacheco, the defense only got to do so much if he's got a litany of weapons at full strength. Now, of course, attrition happens, injuries happen, but they look like they got the shot in the arm that they needed. So absolutely, I'm not putting my team down. Put Trevon at man. He performed better. I mean, what happened against the Panthers? Because we played man then. I think don't get me wrong. I think that's true. But this is what I take from that, right? If you say put Trevon Diggs in man, he performs better, that's cool. Because you may have corners players, period, right? It's like when we played basketball back in the day. I was a shooter. I could get to the cup too, but I mean, I was a shooter. You feel me? So it's like, if you want me to go bang in the paint or something, yeah, I ain't gonna do well. I mean, I might do well against more. I had strength, so I might do better against certain players. But all in all, if you put a 6-foot guy out there, I'm probably gonna get roasted, right? But this is the NFL. These are the 1% of the 1%. We playing at the Rec, kinfolk. We playing at 24-hour fitness. You know what I'm saying? We playing at the Magic Johnson. This is not the same. So if you're telling me that he's a guy that can't adjust, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because what do we see from Deron Bland yesterday? They were in zone, they put pressure, and he gets a pick six. I need to see consistent production from these guys on defense, because and I'm mad at myself because somehow I really believe they're gonna force me to believe again. See, Cash, his quarterback has won 3 Super Bowls. You get what I'm saying? He's not been to an AFC championship. Is it? I mean, when has he missed the AFC championship? Was it one time his rookie year, or? I mean, we just talking about 2 different levels of play here. You get what I'm saying? So in the instance that Rain Dakota Prescott is able to be effective, playing at a true caliber of an MVP, I absolutely want to capitalize on this window. When Romo was his most effective, he gets hurt in the preseason game. And then Dak comes in. We don't know any film on him, but he's not the big game. He doesn't have any experience. So he's going against the Green Bay Packers, and we get smacked. So all I'm saying is, if you want to have any type of longevity in this game, you absolutely are going to have to put some players on the field that can get a stop on 3rd down. The fact that we couldn't get a 4th down stop in that game against the Carolina Panthers, the fact that we couldn't get a overtime stop against the Green Bay Packers, we could be talking about a totally different identity for this team right now. 3-1, I'll take it, because I honestly thought we would probably be something like 2-5, 1-6 at this point. But my point is, Rain Dakota Prescott is absolutely playing like an MVP. Let me tell you those stats again for those of you in the back who may not be listening. Number 1, he leads the league in completions at 203. He is 2nd in yardage in the NFL with 1,881. He is 2nd in touchdowns with 16, and the interceptions don't matter, but a 16-3 ratio isn't bad. It's not the worst. Passer rating of 107.6, QBR of 81.4. Now, let me just pull up this schedule really quickly, because if this offense, and we are a juggernaut of an offense, let's be clear, this offense can beat anybody. That's not hyperbole. That's not emotion. This is reality. Your Dallas Cowboys offense can beat anybody in the NFL on any given day. You take Baker off my MVP list and replace him with Dak. He said, yeah. So, and here's my argument for that, right? I don't disagree with that. Well, you know what? I kind of disagree with that. Because my only argument against Baker Mayfield is you have a proven team over there on offense and defense already. Now, Mike Evans is out with a hamstring. Mike Evans always goes out with a hamstring at some point during the season. But you still got Godwin. You still got Bucky over there. Baker, though, is playing out of his mind. I've literally seen him will his team to wins in the same way I've seen Daniel Jones will his team to wins. In the same way I've seen Rain Dakota Prescott will his team to wins. There's no reason. So, all right, let me ask you this, Cash. What is your hierarchy? Who are your top 3 MVP candidates at quarterback right now? And you better not say Patrick Mahomes. No disrespect to Patrick. He's one of the he's one of the best, but he ain't in this conversation. So don't you dare do that. Okay. So while I'm waiting on that, if he's still on here, the Cowboys have the Broncos coming up. Like I've said before, we never play good against the Broncos. So I'm not expecting much from that game. He looked horrible tonight. Mike Evans was back too. So what's the stats on the game, or what's the score and all of that? Is the game over? Because I wasn't able to really watch it though. If he looked bad tonight though, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? Because I want Dak to be Dak is truly looking like I've never seen him before. Why are you saying Mahomes, bro? See, that's why I didn't want to ask you, because there's such homerism in this, bro. Respectfully, bro. Patrick Mahomes, even as great as he is not an MVP candidate like that. Now, if you saying this list is backwards and it's Dak, Stafford, Baker, Mahomes, I can respect that. Mahomes is not the number one candidate for MVP right now. You can't do that. You just can't, bro. Game over. He looked very bad. Okay, so hold on now. Let me look this up really quick, because this makes me happy. I'm not going to lie to you. Let me go to ESPN and check this out. Let me look at this right now. So let's go to scores, NFL. So the Lions, I was just talking about that. The Lions were up 14-0. So let me look at his stats really quick, because we just looking for a little chink in the armor. Baker Mayfield, 28 of 50. Okay, this is bad. I ain't gonna lie. Baker Mayfield, 28 of 50. So it took him 50 attempts to get 228 yards. He averaged 4.6 yards an attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 4 times for 18 yards. Yeah, Baker. And so when we look at yardage, Baker Mayfield has actually dropped, to your point. So according to ESPN, Baker's numbers right now, 1,500 yards. So Dak has him by 300 more yards. He has 4 more touchdowns than Baker, 2 less interceptions. So, okay. All right. Let's go. Hey, they making me believe again, dog, and it's making me mad. All right, so let me see what he said. Mahomes wasn't an MVP the last 2 seasons. This is the best he looked since his last MVP. Watch the tape. And I'll be honest with you. I have not watched a lot of Kansas City Chiefs tape. Not going to cap with you. So you may be right. And let me look up Mahomes' numbers since we here. All right? Because I don't want to. Now, we are going to agree that the stats matter. Right? Hopefully we ain't got to argue about if the stats matter or not. Let's look at Mahomes' numbers. Let's see what his numbers looking like. Okay. To your point. If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. Now, his numbers aren't better than Dak's. But nobody expected Rain Dakota Prescott to play this well. He has 1,800 yards. He has 81 less yards, 2 less touchdowns, 1 less interception, and Dak's QBR is at 79. No, Dak's QBR is at 81. And his is at 77. So overall, his numbers aren't better than Dak's, but they're as good as Dak's, and that matters, right? And let me take this back. I won't give you credit for your receiver conundrum. You know why? Because the last time he won a Super Bowl, we didn't know who the receivers were. We didn't care who the receivers were. I watched this man will them to a Super Bowl against the Eagles. And one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Now, if he would have been able to win that one against Tampa Bay, we might be having a different discussion. Okay, he said, that's why I had Baker at 1 because of the numbers. Right, those numbers, Baker's actually 10th in yardage now after this, which he's just, well, number one, that shows how great he was playing the first 7 games. But, yeah, he fell off the map tonight. To your point, though, Mahomes' numbers are very comparable. Yeah. So, all right, my bad. I was getting a text message here. But, all right. So, to your point, Mahomes is in the MVP discussion. But even per just the numbers, if we just looking at the numbers, the only stat that he's outplaying Dak is in interceptions. He has 1 less interception. But in all other statistical categories, he is in fact winning, and he might even have some rushing touchdowns in there, and I don't believe Dak has any of those. So, I can respect that. I know you are a true fan of them. He said that's facts. So now that he has a legit wide receiver number one, you about to see MVP 3. Laugh out loud. Dak cooking though. And here's the thing. He should. We can both agree on that. Dak has lived off of the hype of being a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, right? 4th round draft pick. Nothing was expected of you. Romo gets hurt. Jamil Flowers or whatever his name was, whoever that kid was, he they move him to a running back or something like that, or defense. So this is all good, right? This is a good old fashioned, you get better, you make the best of your opportunities. Patrick Mahomes, although nobody knew coming out of Texas Tech that he was going to be that good, except for Andy Reid, except for Eric Bieniemy, right? So we can't give nobody but Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy the credit for that. But this is probably going to go down as one of your top 2 quarterbacks of all time, depending on how many more Super Bowls he's able to win. He's still holding that 3. Our bet is for 5. So we'll see here. Me and him got a $500 bet that Patrick Mahomes won't win 5 Super Bowls. Now, they scared the hell out of me last year. I'm not going to lie. But we going to see. We going to see. You said hot take, Pickens over CD. You missed the beginning of the show. That's not a hot take. I actually said, I'm going to be honest with you. Because I was thinking about the show today, and I said, man, I actually feel like Pickens might be a little bit better than CD. And here's the number one factor, right? Both elusive down the field, all of that, right? Both playmakers. CD Lamb's hands are nowhere as sure as George Pickens are. And that's the deciding factor for me in a receiver, right? And we seen what he did in CD's absence. He looked like the number one receiver on this team. Made play after play after play. It's undeniable. I always said it, and I agree with CD when he said it. They're 1A, 1B for sure. On any given day. We know what that was yesterday, though. That was home cooking for CD. You want to make sure he still feels important. He only has one more catch than George in that game. His actual touchdown was dang near more than all of the catches combined for George Pickens in that game, right? George Pickens has 4 catches, 80-something yards. CD has 5 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. So the offense is so potent that, you spread the ball around, you just make it do what it do. We balling that running back. We balling that receiver. Jake Ferguson is doing his thing. You throw in Kevontae Turpin. You throw in Flournoy. This offense is humming, man. You know what I'm saying? And I got to give credit to Brian Schottenheimer. Like I said, without Brian Schottenheimer, I don't know if this offense is clicking the way that it is, right? With adding, and I did say this also earlier, Cash, adding in George Pickens is what made this offense really like that. Because CD was already here. Flournoy was already here. Tolbert was already here. Ferguson was already here. But then you throw in that run game that makes you respect the... So I take that back. Both of those guys, George Pickens and Javonte Williams, both of those, that running back who nobody expected anything from, and then we all believed that George Pickens was going to be a great deep threat guy. We didn't know he was elusive like this. He's going back to circa his Georgia days before the knee injury. So, yeah, man. Overall, though, Kansas City's looking scary. That defense is always just needed to have consistency on offense. And now that you're getting the consistency from the offense, Rashee Rice bringing that speed in, then you add in Xavier Worthy with the speed. They looking dangerous. I'm not going to lie, and I ain't going to hate. It is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? And I just realized I don't even got the right hold on, y'all. I don't got the right. It ain't going to let me do it. I got the wrong profile in here. It ain't got my you going to get these sports profile in here. But anyway, I stand corrected from what Cash was saying. Patrick Mahomes is absolutely a part of that race. So when we look at the NFC East here, I guess my question is, how are we feeling about the NFC, right? And we can't forget about Sam Darnold in the MVP argument. Let me say that. You got Baker Mayfield, you got Sam Darnold, you got Dak Prescott, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got what's the kid in Indianapolis? Danny Dimes. You got Danny Dimes over there, right? Who's really looking like Danny Dimes now. It's interesting to me that the most effective quarterbacks outside of the guys like Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott, right? It's the resurgence of these guys who we left for dead, right? I'm like, it's impressive to me because Sam Darnold, we thought that was a flash in the pan when he went to Minnesota. When he went to the playoffs, he turned right back into a pumpkin. Why you see guys like Jordan Love, the resurgence of Jordan Love actually showing up, Baker Mayfield actually, like, you couldn't tell me that after the Cleveland Browns drafted Baker Mayfield, they shocked the world, took him number 1 overall, that he was going to actually end up, you talk about a couple teams later, I think, who did he play for? Did he play for Carolina? But I know, he played for Cleveland, of course. What's the other team he played for? But there was no way you got me to believe that he was going to look like this in Tampa Bay. The only thing that I wish is that some of the black quarterbacks would get the same opportunities that the Sam Darnolds, that the Daniel Jones, the Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been playing pretty good. I ain't going to say phenomenal, but he's been playing pretty good. He was left for dead and then went to Washington, looked even worse, and that was on the heels of them, them trying to get Daniel Snyder out of there as the owner, to now resurfacing where he's from. He's from Minnesota. Now he's looking like he could play a few more years in this league. And for those of you who aren't familiar, of course, he was out of North Dakota State, went to Philly, number 1 seed, tears his knee up in the playoffs, or was it before the playoffs? It was actually before the playoffs. Tears his knee up like a game or two before the playoffs. And of course, Nick Foles comes in. They go on a run. The rest is history. And he was never the same again. And it was never his team again either. And so, he made a few stops. He looked terrible. Who knew that he would go to Minnesota and they would even be halfway decent? So I don't even know if it's a method to the madness when it comes to that, right? But what we do know is that the NFL is looking interesting. And now you have, as I look at the numbers right now, you have the Seattle Seahawks up 14-0 on C.J. Stroud, who this was supposed to be him coming out of his sophomore slump. He's figured it out a little bit. He's my fantasy quarterback, and he's looking terrible. I mean, it is what it is. I'm about to call it game blouses on my fantasy season in just a second, but it is what it is. But your Seattle Seahawks are 4-2 right now. I don't know. I'll be honest. Nobody knows how to call this stuff. But anyway, my question to the Cowboy fans out here is, how are we feeling about the season thus far? How are we feeling about this game with Denver next week? And please, can I get some realistic fans on here? Anybody saying they going to the top, and I don't listen, man. And it may be true, but give me some statistics, give me some facts that make me believe that what you're saying is true, besides just blind fandom. Here on You Gonna Get These Sports, bruh, we are the most biased, non-biased show you gonna watch, because what we like, you gonna know it, and what we don't like, you gonna know it. So I think that's pretty open, even though it may be biased. And we talk Cowboys, we talk local sports, but we talk everything else too. We talk about the NFC East. We're gonna talk about the NFL. I can't wait to get into some boxing talk. I ain't gonna lie, Cash probably ain't on here no more, but I gotta be honest, man. And I'm sorry for kind of going all over the place a little bit here. What Terrence Crawford did was nothing short of amazing. I don't care for what David Benavidez said, and it was just a quote, but the quote said that the Mexican Monster said that Canelo didn't take Crawford serious, and I think that's a load of hogwash. I think that's just love, showing love for a guy like Canelo. But if we being honest, Canelo should have lost the first fight to Triple G. Not to mention what Bivol did to him, not to mention what Crawford did to him. He's not as great, not to mention what Mayweather did to him. He's not as great, and some people actually believe that he lost that last fight before that. So I don't know, man. I just like for us to call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? Canelo is one of the greatest fighters of our generation, but we ain't never seen Mayweather get beat the way he's got beat. We ain't never seen none of the greats, and unless it was by other greats, right? I'm not saying Bivol's not elite or anything like that, but we done seen Canelo get his leg beat a few times, and I just at this point, where do you go from here? Do you retire? You definitely don't want to fight David Benavidez. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I see why you said you want 250 million. I totally get it, bro. He said, feel you on the black quarterback stuff until you see how bad Geno Smith is. Here's the problem, though. Here's why I come to Geno Smith's aid. Geno Smith has no line at all. Let's not forget Geno Smith is comeback player of the year for Seattle. The only reason that I believe he ended up leaving is because, Pete Carroll leaves, and I know he teamed back up with him, of course, but Pete Carroll leaves, and he wasn't going to be able to get that money from Seattle. I don't know, bro. Geno's not that bad. You feel me? Like, Ashton Genty is supposed to actually be balling out way more than what he is, but that line is absolutely terrible. They're going to have to retool that offense, that offense here real soon. So that's what I'll say. I'm not saying Geno is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. That's not what I'm saying. But he needs some help over there. That franchise, let's be honest, that franchise is god-awful. Of all the things that you probably should have drafted, it probably shouldn't have been a running back. You probably should have got you a stud offensive lineman or something. So that offense, when it's been able to click, has been able to move the ball, but it's kind of hard when you can't keep your quarterback upright. That's just my 2 cents. So with that being said, I don't know when you might be looking at it from the beginning, but no, like I said, Crawford, much respect. Now what I hope you don't do, I know that's your boy. Crawford is his dude. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna give him the love there. You know what I'm saying? He told me that that Crawford was gonna do Spence the way he did him. I'll give you that. But nobody was expecting for him to do Canelo like that, bro. Long as you can be honest about that, we cool. Don't tell me you was expecting for him to do that. But anyway, going back to Randy Dakota Prescott. Here's my bottom line on this. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Randy Dakota Prescott is in the top 3 of all major statistics and categories for a quarterback. QBR, passer rating, passer efficiency, all of those things. He's only not in the top 10 in interceptions with 3. And that's not saying much because the margin of error is actually slim when it comes to interceptions. He's looking like a bona fide true MVP candidate, and that offense is looking like something that people are going to have to deal with. That's what we were actually doing. We were looking at the schedule. And for those of you that I know I sound like a homer. I sound like they done sucked me back into the fandom again. I get it. But let's just look at the next 3 to 4 games. We got the Denver Broncos. We got the Cardinals, who we never play good against. That's the thing I hate, right? Here's the tough part. I hope Geno keeps playing like trash, but I hope Genty goes for 300 yards because he is my he is my running back in fantasy, right? But we never historically play good against the Broncos. We never historically play good against the Cardinals. The Raiders, does Genty break out against us? Then we got the Eagles at home for Thanksgiving. Or is it the Chiefs? Because those games are What day does that fall on? Do we got the Chiefs on Thanksgiving? That's going to be crazy. How do we get the Chiefs on Thanksgiving? Who's responsible for this, fam? All right, bro. What is the schedule that they giving me? Bro, come on, bro. Get the heck out of here. Stop playing with me. Bro, I'm about to get... Okay. Let me just take a step back, because what the heck is going on here? Why are they giving me this unnecessary stuff? All right, now the schedule's... All right, I'm off it, because I'm going to get mad. Anyway, it looks like we play the... Yes, Thanksgiving, buddy. I'll be there. Okay. Who's responsible for this? Like, I'm serious, dog. This is kind of agitating, if I'm being honest. Why would we have the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, bro? I don't understand what this thing is doing right now. I'm finna just take my phone off Wi-Fi because I really just want to look at the rest of this schedule. What's canceled? All right, bro. 2025 schedule. Please just give me the schedule before I get upset. Okay, here we go. So, Denver, Arizona, Las Vegas. We got Philly on Sunday, and then the Chiefs on Thursday. And then we got the Lions the following Thursday. This is crazy. Bro, if we make the playoffs, if we make the playoffs off this schedule, bro, we have to be two most popular teams. They trying to make a statement. They gonna break a viewership record, bro. And if y'all offense is actually clicking, like still clicking, like, bro, it's gonna be crazy, bro. I can see this being better than, what was that year, bro, where they had Rams versus, who was it? It was like Rams versus the Lions or something like that, and they both dropped like 50 or something like that. It was crazy. But yeah, this is looking scary hours. I'm not gonna lie to you. Denver, Arizona, Raiders, Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, Minnesota, Chargers. Yeah, I might well tuck that fandom back in, dog. Do you understand how effective that the Dallas Cowboys offense and defense would have to be for the remainder of the season for us to make the playoffs? It's just craziness, bro. But I am looking forward to that. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say concerning the rest of the schedule. I just hope that we are competitive on offense. If we can be competitive and really go bar for bar with the Chiefs on offense, I'd be cool. Chiefs versus Rams, greatest Monday night football game ever. Okay, I thought it was the Chiefs, but I was like, I wasn't sure. Okay, yeah, Chiefs Rams. We got more acclaim than the Rams. So you talking about Patrick Mahomes versus Dak Prescott? That might be your MVP decider right there, if you being honest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is looking kind of crazy, dog. I ain't gonna lie to you. All right, hold on. Let me see what he say. He said the Giants and Commanders gonna fall off, so y'all good. Well, but see, that's not how the playoffs is looking though, right? Which I already said. Like I said, the beginning of the show, I said the Commanders not making the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my statement, because Jaden went out again. They finna play the Chiefs. They finna play the Chiefs. Well, they play the Commanders again, but without Jaden, you probably actually might lose that game. They got the Eagles, Cowboys again, Seahawks, Lions. It's scary hours for them, bro. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary hours for them. And for the Giants just gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter to Denver. Y'all ain't ready. I don't care how good Scatterboo is. I don't care how good Jackson Dart is. Y'all not ready. I promise you, y'all not ready. So, I agree with you. But if we look at the landscape, you got, first of all, let me go to this because I was just looking at this. So, let me tell you what I'm telling you. I ain't going to say, well, I'm disagreeing, but I do disagree. Because I think that overall, let me go to standings. Hold on. Let me click on this. So, when we're looking at the NFC, right, you got the Eagles at 5-2, Green Bay's 4-1, Tampa Bay's 5-2, San Francisco's 5-2. At this point, it don't matter if you got Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, that team's going to be formidable. You got the Rams at 5-2, Seattle at 4-2. I don't count Carolina or Atlanta. I'm sorry, I don't believe in neither one of them. Detroit at 5-2. Chicago at 4-2. Bro, if we get in, we're gonna be the 8th seed. That's my belief. If we do anything more than that, I'm gonna be highly impressed. I don't believe the Cowboys. The Cowboys are fighting an uphill battle when you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 bona fide teams that I could say are gonna make the playoffs. So we're either gonna get one of those last wild card spots, and depending on how it falls, we're gonna be either fighting with Seattle, Carolina, or Atlanta, Chicago. Like it's bro, with that schedule, yeah, it's gonna be tough. But I do agree with you; those teams are gonna fall off. At this point, our best bet would be to try to be on par with the Eagles, beat them, and see. You know what I'm saying? See how that's going. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm still not believing in the Eagles this year either. Now, I will tell you the truth, because I'm gonna tell on myself. I was one that said I don't believe that the Chiefs were gonna make the playoffs. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. It was the way they was looking. It just looked like they was taking a downward spiral. That defense was looking real depressed. And now this could even be like knee-jerk reaction to how good they looked yesterday. But y'all are 4-3, y'all third in y'all division. I don't believe in the Chargers. I don't care what they did at the first game of the season. I definitely don't believe in Denver. So now you looking at, depending on how tonight goes and next week, y'all could be right tied for first in the division after next week. So y'all always formidable. Denver, Las Vegas is usually the ones that ain't worth nothing. But Denver, Los Angeles Chargers, and y'all are usually the ones that are pretty competitive anyway. That's also not to mention if Cincinnati is able to hold up until Joe Burrow gets back. I don't know, bro. Football is good right now. That's all I'll say. You know what I'm saying? Football is looking pretty good right now. And this is my other. Now, this may not be a hot take. You know what I'm saying? But looking at the quarterback landscape, I was one that said Bryce Young was going to be better than C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is looking atrocious outside of what he did last week. Now, he looked like he was starting to get a little bit better as the weeks were going along. But something is a disconnect for me with him, and I'm not understanding what it is. But Bryce Young, numbers aren't going to blow you out the water right now, right? For some reason, they can't find a way to get Ted McMillan in the end zone. Like, he scored twice against us, of course, and that was the deciding factor in that game. Even if you let Rico Dowdle do everything he does, like, Ted literally hadn't scored a touchdown since that game. He didn't score a touchdown before. He got 2 in that game, and he didn't score last game. I got him in fantasy, so I know I wasn't trying to pick him, but it is what it is. So, kind of hot take it. I don't know. I think Bryce Young is going to end up being better than C.J. Stroud. That's my humble opinion. Hold on. Let me see what you said. You said Lamar coming back too. That's another. See? Lamar coming back. Now, it might be scary. Now, they have the easiest schedule moving forward. So, I'll give you that. Lamar has the easiest schedule moving forward. But I don't know, bro. I don't know if him coming back is enough to rally the troops because they already weren't playing good with him. So that's what I would say to that. How you feeling about the Colts? I feel like the Colts could be for real, but here's the deciding factor, just like it was with Sam Darnold last year. Let's say that they actually make it to the playoffs, right? We don't know what Daniel Jones look like in the playoffs, bro. You're gonna have to lean heavily on that run game, and I don't know how good their defense is. But they 6-1. If they win a few more games, they might just have that division sold up. For some reason, because Tennessee ain't gonna do nothing. I'm sorry. I think it's already over for Houston. You might have to start figuring out what you're going to do at quarterback. I know that people ain't going to agree with that. They going to say, CJ, it's only his third year. He got to start looking like something consistently. So, do you sign a fifth-year extension on him? Do you go ahead and sign him to a long-term deal? What's the problem? Why are they 2-3 right now? That's what you're going to have to help me figure out. I know Mooney was out. I know that they lost Nico for a little bit. But I'm just saying, like, what's the problem here? So, Houston, I don't know what to tell you about Houston. Something about them ain't working. Jacksonville. Lawrence, I don't know. He looked great, and then they just went and got smacked in London. Like, I don't understand what's going on with this. Once again, I don't understand what's going on with this team. It's looking like more the same. The Rams beat you 35-7, bro. In London, 35-7. Travis Hunter finally starts getting the ball. 8 catches. Was it 9 catches? Let me look at that. Let me look at his stats really quick because I tried to trade for him in fantasy too. Travis Hunter, 8 catches, 101 yards, averaged 12.6 catches, and a touchdown. I mean, why does it take a game where y'all getting blown out for him to shine? I don't understand that team. So Lawrence, I don't understand at quarterback. It's just something, I don't know, bro. Like, overall though, Indy is going to be close to sewing that division up. If they get to like 9-1, 10-1, it might be over for the division. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I can believe in Daniel Jones is the thing. Like I said, we've seen this stuff before, man. You know what I'm saying? Baker Mayfield, I can say it's for real because we've seen him do it consistently. Daniel Jones, I don't know. Sam Darnold, apparently is for real. We've seen him, like, you know what I'm saying, do it consistently now. Daniel Jones gonna have to do it again, or you got to do it and they do a deep run in the playoffs. Because here's the thing. Do you see? Let me ask you this. Anybody watching as well? Do you see Daniel Jones beating Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh in the playoffs? Do you see him beating? Actually, when you look at it like that, do you see him beating Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs? If Baltimore is able to rally from a 1-5 record, do you see them beating Lamar Jackson in the playoffs? Do you see them beating Josh Allen in the playoffs? I can't say Drake May. I'm not going for that crap in New England. Whatever, y'all can say what y'all want to say. But I mean, depending on how it falls, I mean, we can't say about Joe Burrow right now because he's out. Yeah, I don't know, bruh. If Indy can lock up a number 1 seed, I mean, I only could see maybe Kansas City, a Pittsburgh, or a Buffalo being able to go into Indianapolis and beat them. That's just my opinion. I gotta watch a game. I haven't seen them live yet. We played them too. Y'all okay? Well, I mean, I've seen some stuff. Here's what I think more than anything though about the Colts. I think that Jonathan Taylor has always been that guy, but he was injured over the last couple years. I think what you may run into is I think Michael Pittman is the only receiver that I know about over there. Their tight end is the truth, the best tight end. He was the best tight end in in college football last year. I think he played for like, was it Minnesota or something like that? He was a dog though. So you got something there. So you got a good running back, you have a good tight end, and you have serviceable guys at receiver. To me, once again, I just think that Daniel Jones is the outlier. And who's their coach? And is Denver for real? I don't believe in Bo Nix, but Sean Payton is a fool. Sean Payton as a play caller is elite. So that I don't know, bruh. I don't know. It's too much intrigue in football going on. Here's my thing too, right? And I've said this, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. Hold on, let me see what you said. And we got to remember it's October. I don't believe in no team until late November, early December. Yeah, I mean, based off of that logic, you can't never bet with the Cowboys because they ain't never did it. It's just certain games to me that are telling the tale for me, right? So if I'm going back to the Cowboys, if I'm going back to the NFC East, right, and if I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, I say this why I don't believe in the Eagles. They don't display that they have a true identity. And when you're dependent on Jalen Hurts in the tush push and Saquon Barkley, this is what I thought about yesterday when I was watching those games. You know what ended up inflating a lot of Saquon Barkley's numbers last year? Late in those games, whether it was because they were trying to salt the game away or they were actually trying to take a lead late, Saquon broke off like 50-yard runs, and he did it multiple times. And people probably don't remember it, and he did it sometimes twice in games, and that inflated his numbers a little bit. Although I will say, and I can admit, he actually looked phenomenal last year, not hating him. I still feel like he should have played to get that rushing record. Because even though you're going to get a Super Bowl, it's going to be 1,000 other people that's going to get a Super Bowl. Somebody may not break your rushing record for another 40, 50 years. That's just me. But a lot of his numbers were inflated last year by those long runs and stuff like that. So if the tush push is going to be officiated differently and they want their identity to be the run, if Saquon can't be the guy and Jalen ain't finna get you 100 yards a game, he's not Michael Vick, he ain't Jaden Daniels, he's not Lamar Jackson, he ain't finna get you that many rushing yards in the game, I do believe that they start to implode because their coach, Nick Sirianni, is not a good coach. I don't care what nobody say. He's terrible. He's not a good coach. They came up with the tush push, which is almost undeniable from 3 yards in. So you have that to your advantage. I don't know if you have it to your advantage from 2026 moving forward. I don't believe that the NFL even lets that stand. It's too much of an advantage. Even teams that try to do the tush push can't do it to the caliber of the Eagles. And I've seen people break down how it's a false start almost 95% of the time. They're going to start officiating it in a way to make it a little more parity-based. So that's what I'll say. So here's my other thing, right? Because I was thinking when I was saying that the Washington wasn't going to make the playoffs. Here's the stat, right? And I looked this up. They said the statement that 8 new teams make the NFL playoffs each year is incorrect. It actually ends up, out of 14 playoff teams, it ends up being 6 to 7, right? Somebody that made the playoffs last year, and according to these numbers, they actually said that it's like, where is it at? It was like 5.8. So it's like really like 6 to 7 teams over the last couple years based off of statistics since 1990 or something like that. Where is it at? I hate when that. High turnover signs in the league and parity expansion teams to 14. Since 1990, the league has averaged 5.85 new playoff teams per year. This number has increased to almost 7 in recent years with the expanded playoff format. So this is a numbers game. So to your point, You could see somebody like Carolina making the playoffs. You can see somebody like, you can see the Cowboys end up making the playoffs who didn't make it last year. You can see Washington not making it, stuff like that, right? So the Colts making the playoffs, where they didn't, stuff like that. So overall, I thought that was interesting because I'm like, I wonder if it's actually true that 8 new teams make the playoffs. You're talking about technically 4 teams per conference. Sure. I'm glad you didn't respond to me saying I didn't think that Kansas City was going to make the playoffs, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't me being a hater, too. That was just like, bro, it's just like, I just believe that, like, all good things must come to an end, right? And I'm like, do I believe that the Chiefs, and mind you, bro, here's the thing. This is where we got to stop being victim to recency bias. Because we watched Tom Brady go to like 11 Super Bowls. And it was undeniable that he was the best quarterback ever. And don't get me wrong, field goal kickers saved his life multiple times. But I also seen him time after time after time make drives to put them in position to even get a field goal, right? He had nerves of steel for sure. And then he left that organization, went to Tampa Bay, and won another Super Bowl. So it's kind of hard for me to argue. It's like the Jordan LeBron argument. Jordan's the greatest, bro. Like, it just is what it is. But I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment and say because he's been dominant like what Tom Brady was, but not the same. They were in, like, it's tough because I'm like, I can't even say that because he's lost, 2 Super Bowls? So he's played in 5, lost 2, won 3. Brady lost 2, won 7 or something like that. I don't know. I don't know, bro. It's. I don't want to say that Patrick Mahomes, if he wins 2 more Super Bowls, is the greatest ever because I don't necessarily believe that. But at the same time, he's the greatest of our generation, right? So I just have to give him that. Like, I can't say you're the greatest ever, but you're the greatest of our generation. So I say all that to say, I don't want to give you $500, and so I hope somehow, some way, somebody gets the balls to beat y'all. But in my honest opinion, I thought, and forgive me, I thought that Josh Allen, when we start talking about the quarterbacks of this landscape, right? Because that had a lot to do with what we were talking about tonight. We look at Josh Allen, we look at Lamar Jackson, we look at Joe Burrow, we look at Patrick Mahomes. We look at let me look at the rest of these. We look at Lawrence. We look at Josh Herbert. We look at, I don't even want to name Bo Nix. We look at Aaron Rodgers, still relevant. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. It's Chicago for real. Like that, I listened to local radio and they said the Cowboys, that there's no way that you lose to Carolina and you lose to the Bears. There's no way you're making the playoffs. I'm like, the Bears have a better record than the Cowboys. They're actually 4-2. They were the first to beat Washington before we did. So, you got Baker Mayfield. You got, I don't count Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold. You have Matt Stafford. There was a lot of, basically what I'm saying is there were a lot of guys, like, people forget that Detroit had gave up on Matt Stafford and the Rams had gave up on Jared Goff. And so that swap was to say hope, and look, it worked out for both because both those teams are still relevant. Matt Stafford goes on to be the missing piece to win that Super Bowl. So none of those guys have Andy Reid, and that's the difference. I agree. I agree. That's why I say what I say, bro. My argument or my fantasy free agency pickup would be package Trevon Diggs and somebody off that line, maybe like a Nealon or somebody. You got to be a young guy that's a good player, and go get like a Quinnen Williams from the New York Jets. So then you have Kenny Grant, I think that's his name, whatever the guy we got from the Packers. That guy, Quinnen Williams in the middle. Now you have a bona fide run stopper. You have quality corners, because I'm not worried about Trevon anymore. Then we have Demario Overshown, or whatever his name is, coming back from the ACL. I know you don't supposed to put your hope in guys that are recovering from ACL surgeries. I get it. All we need is for the Cowboys to be a middle of the pack defense, with that offense still playing like the number one offense. And Thanksgiving is gonna look crazy. That's all I'm saying. Let's not punt on the season with this defense. I'm not one that believes that we need Micah Parsons. I've seen this guy. He is not going to matter against Kansas City Chiefs. He's not going to matter against the Eagles. He's not going to matter against Tampa Bay. He's not going to matter against the Rams. I've seen it. He's not going to matter against San Francisco. I've seen this. I've seen this film 1,000 times. It's boys in the hood. Ricky's going to die every time. I hate it. Micah Parsons is not going to make an impactful sack when it matters against a playoff team. I've seen it. You hadn't been watching the show, Cash, but the stats are 4 playoff games, 1 sack. Guess who that was against? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guess what? We were up by 17. It did not matter. 2 games against San Francisco 49ers. He's not important to the game. Get beat by 40 against the Packers. Not important. You get 3 sacks yesterday against the Arizona Cardinals. Not important. You get a sack in trash time against the Detroit Lions. Not important. He's not an impact player like that, bro. He's just a flash in the pan guy. But to your point, getting back to what you said, Andy Reid is absolutely a game changer. But those guys got to stay healthy. Xavier Worthy, I know you seen yesterday, had a shoulder injury. So is he going to stay healthy? Small guy. Run like the wind, bullseye. Xavier Worthy is a blur. So I know who he is. He played for my college team. But if he can't stay healthy, what does that offense start looking like? Because Juju Smith-Schuster, he needs to be on the bench, boy. Juju ain't finna change no games for you, especially not at this point in his career. So I agree with you. Man, if it's one thing I've watched, I may not have watched a bunch of Kansas City games. I watched a bunch of Cowboy games. So I be knowing. That's why I be like, bro, I'm not finna argue with people about the Dallas Cowboys and how good Micah Parsons is and how good Trevon Diggs is. I'm like, this man is getting roasted every week. Every single week. Deron Bland, in the playoffs, specifically, in the playoffs, gets roasted. Prove me wrong. His replacement right next to him, Thornton, waiting for him to act up, talking about Worthy. Hey, that's cool. All I'm saying, though, but to my point, though, are you saying that Thornton becomes a problem because they also have Rashee Rice and they also have, what's the other guy? You got Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and what's the other guy? Oh, and Hollywood Brown. This is what I want people to stop doing. This is what I want people who actually watch football and know what's going on to stop doing. Just a little bit ago, even going back to last year, people was ready to get Hollywood Brown so far out of Kansas City it wasn't even funny. But winning cures everything. So is Thornton a problem because you got Hollywood Brown and you got Rashee Rice? Or is he just a problem, period? Because it was looking like scary hours just a couple games ago. Defense was looking unmotivated. They were saying Chris Jones was punting on the season. I'm just a guy. I temper myself because I know how the Cowboys can let me down. You got a whole different. Well, but Cash, your whole team is deep threats. Xavier Worthy, deep threat. Rasheed Rice, deep threat. Hollywood Brown, deep threat. Thornton, deep threat. Y'all say I don't care about who run routes. Boy, y'all got what's the guy y'all got rid of, dog? The guy who was there last year. Y'all said this is it. We finna go win it all. He ended up going to play for Baltimore this year. With the dread. You know what I'm talking about. He a good backup if we lose Worthy because he is fragile. Okay. And that's my point though. You know what I'm saying? So my point though is like y'all get sturdy. Y'all ain't worried about people being sturdy. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all get guys who can run fast because Patrick Mahomes can throw it far. Like that's y'all's history. Can we not? And I'm not trying to sound like Cam, but let's not forget, y'all went and got the cheetah. Y'all want to go get a burner. Y'all love burners. In y'all mind, we gonna go 4-5 wide. Everybody want 4-3 or better. Beat us. D-Hop. There we go. Y'all got D-Hop out of here so fast. And D-Hop is not a burner, never been a burner. He is just a great receiver. But D-Hop ain't fast. Gone. Now he in Baltimore. Talking about he ain't washed up. He mad because y'all must have told him he's washed up. So I'm just saying, like, y'all don't care nothing about guys who... Y'all don't care about guys like Anquan Bolden or somebody like that. Y'all want speedsters forever. So that's my point, though. Overall, though, like I said, though, just to get back on, we out here talking Kansas City Chiefs. Like I told you, we're going to talk sports. We're going to talk football. Know it all. He was washed. I still love D-Hop, though. I can't take this, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I can't take this from you. Because I remember your excitement. You said, it's over. You said, we got D-Hop. Y'all didn't. Y'all done messed up. It's over. I still don't see nothing that he actually did wrong. Or was he actually dropping passes last year, now that I think about it? Was that what actually happened? Is he actually started dropping passes? I'm trying to remember what happened with D-Hop. Because he didn't look bad, bro. That's my only argument. D-Hop he didn't look bad, but I think he did drop a few passes. So... But to get back to my Cowboys, I reserve my hope that they're actually going to make the playoffs because I see that schedule. And I'll be honest, it is hard for me to believe that even at the clip that he's playing at now, that Ryan Dakota Prescott is going to be able to play at this clip every single week without having the help of a defense. The greatest quarterbacks are going to throw interceptions. It is very hard for me to not believe that he's going to hit some rough patches because they all do. You ain't watched the game, laugh out loud. He was dropping. No. That's why I did say that. That's why I said. I said he didn't play bad, but I said I believe he was actually dropping passes, which is playing bad. But you get what I'm saying. Like, that's out of the norm for him. D-Hop didn't drop nothing. You get what I'm saying? So, you said he was dropping passes. Bro, we went to the Super Bowl, and he dropped multiple passes. Okay. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I do remember something about that, but you know. You know what I'm saying? It's a highlight reel of him dropping passes in KC. Okay. All right. I ain't gonna argue with you, dog. You know what I'm saying? I watch Cowboys and I watch, whatever other Sunday night game might be on. I don't intentionally be watching Kansas City. I secretly root against them not so secretly root against them. Like I said, I don't want them to win 5 Super Bowls. I ain't got $500. I don't want to give it to you, dog. I'm just keeping a stack million with you. But overall, I do reserve my hope for the Cowboys. They absolutely Jerry's. I'm gonna be honest with y'all too. Jerry's starting to look bad. Like, I don't know if you've seen these like, it's funny with that shaky hand putting that middle finger up. You know what I'm saying? That's real funny. But Jerry's starting to look bad. And so, if there's any hope of us really winning the Super Bowl, Jerry, you got to spend that money while you're still on this side of the dirt, kinfolk. That's my argument. You got to spend that money while you're still on this side. And if you don't, it is what it is, dog. Ash, dust, dust. I ain't got nothing for you. He said, the only other team I watch every week other than the Chiefs is the Cowboys. I know that to be true. You did say that. Those are your 2 teams for sure. I mean, you know, you've been in KC and you've been in Texas, kinfolk. I get it. And I be driving by Temple on my way to Killeen too. So I believe you. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely believe you. But yeah, man. So listen, we definitely went down a few avenues tonight. For those of you who may be watching on the playback, all love and respect. You know what I'm saying? My point is for this discussion is, and I didn't give my order, so let me give my order. If we're talking about MVP candidates, and Mahomes he's a silent MVP candidate only because the woes that they've experienced early in the season. But I will say this. Daniel Jones has to be your number 1 for MVP candidates. Right behind him, I have Rain Dakota Prescott. I have Baker Mayfield. And then I would have Patrick Mahomes. And that's only going through tonight. Now, I could pretty much switch them and put Patrick at number 3 and put Baker at number 4. This is a what have you done for me lately league. Dak Prescott is top 3 in all major statistical categories. And it's number 1 in overall total passes completed. That's not to be mocked at. So I'm going to stream. I need to see when's the next game. Denver at 3. I believe I'm gonna go ahead and stream that game live. So that means I'm gonna have to go ahead and pay the ticket on that YouTube TV. It's actually quite immaculate. I'm in love with it, but it costs a little too much for my liking. But I believe that I will be here streaming that game. This is gonna tell us a lot about Dak more than anything, right? Going to Denver against Sean Payton of all people, who people forget. We gave up 40 first downs to Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. One of the worst defensive games I've ever seen in my entire life. So if anybody has the number of a team, it's Sean Payton, including the Denver Broncos. I'm going to be interested to see how Dak plays against this. You got Patrick Surtain over there. It's going to be interesting. But if all hearts and minds are clear, do we have anything else to add? Cash, you got anything to add before we get out of here? If y'all have been watching this far, please do me a favor and hit the like. Just do your boy one solid. It don't cost no money to hit that like, man. Of course, you know, here at the network, the Mind of a Man Network, man, we give you multiple shows on this platform. I look to show up here on Wednesday with Church Flow and Friday with the Late Night Shift Live. We will be talking Joel Tudman on Wednesday, and we will be talking Trump on Friday. We're going to give you the variety you're looking for, kinfolk. We don't believe in doing things the cookie cutter way. Thank you guys for tuning in. I guess our hearts and minds are clear as I end every show. Ms. Reese said, go Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys for life. Yeah, for sure. Man, all hearts and minds are clear as I end every show. Life is hard enough, so please don't just live elevated. Until next time, I love you. May the Lord keep you. I'll see you on the next show. Peace. Hit that like, please, and subscribe for your boy. it's me. That boy Tay-Rock finna yo watch battle rap. People saying, it's me, bro. It's me. Hit that like, man. Hit the subscribe. I'll see you boys on the next show. Peace.